A 65-year-old man walks into a rural bar, quickly becoming the target of local bullies. They have no idea that this seemingly vulnerable senior was once America's deadliest Navy SEAL sniper. And they're about to learn this lesson firsthand. The door of the rusty anchor swung open, letting in a gust of autumn air along with William Cooper. At 65, Bill moved with a deliberate economy of someone who had spent decades conditioning his body for precision. His weathered hands, steady, without the tremor common to most men his age, gently removed his navy blue ball cap as he entered. The bar was dim, lit mostly by neon beer signs and low-hanging pendant lights. Bill's gray eyes swept the room in one fluid scan, a habit formed through years of entering unfamiliar territories. His gaze registered exits, occupants, potential obstacles, all without appearing to look at anything in particular. He wore nothing remarkable. Faded jeans, worn but clean work boots, an old leather jacket with no visible insignia. His silver hair was cropped short, face clean-shaven. The only hint of his past was his posture. Spine straight without seeming rigid, shoulders square without appearing tense. The bartender nodded as Bill approached. "What can I get you?" "Coffee, Black, if that's not too much trouble." His voice was quiet, carrying just far enough to reach the bartender. Another habit from years of communication in environments where excess noise meant danger. A few patrons glanced his way, then returned to their drinks. Bill selected a corner stool that offered a clear view of both the entrance and the room's interior. He placed his cap carefully on the bar, adjusting it slightly so the worn edge faced away from him. His movements were precise, controlled, unrushed, like everything else about him. In the opposite corner, for men in their 30s dominated a booth meant for six. Empty beer bottles crowded their table, testament to an afternoon spent drinking rather than working. Jason Miller, the largest of the group, tracked Bill's entrance with narrowed eyes. At 38, Jason had made a reputation in Millfield as someone not to be crossed. His sleeveless shirt displayed heavily tattooed arms, and a faded "fear this" phrase stretched across his thick knuckles. "Looks like Grandpa got lost on the way to bingo," he sneered, just loud enough for his companions to hear. The group erupted in low laughter. Beside him sat Darren, his cousin and perpetual sidekick, wearing a trucker cap pulled low over bloodshot eyes. Across from them, brothers Kyle and Travis exchanged amused looks. These had claimed the rusty anchor as their territory years ago, making sport of any outsider unfortunate enough to wander in. Other patrons, mostly locals who knew better, carefully maintained their focus on their drinks. A middle-aged couple quietly settled their tab and slipped out, exchanging knowing glances. The bartender's expression tightened almost imperceptibly as he noticed Jason's table getting restless. "Fresh meat," Travis muttered, tipping his bottle toward Bill. Jason cracked his knuckles, a grin spreading across his face. Maybe we should help him find his way home. The table laughed again, louder this time. A silence rippled through the bar as other conversations momentarily faltered. Regular patrons recognized the warning signs. Jason's pack had found their evening's entertainment. Bill sipped his coffee, seemingly oblivious to the attention from the corner booth. The young bartender, whose name tag read Tom, placed a menu before him. "Kitchen's open till 9 if you're hungry," Tom offered, his voice deliberately casual. "Thank you. Just passing through. Might try the..." "Just passing through?" Jason's voice cut across the bar as he pushed away from his table. He sauntered over, positioning himself 2 stools away from Bill. "Don't get many travelers in Millfield. What brings you to our little town, old-timer?" Bill turned slightly, acknowledging Jason with a polite nod. "Just a short stop. Nice place you have here. Didn't ask about the town. Asked what you're doing here." Jason's tone hardened. Other patrons tensed. Tom busied himself wiping already clean glasses, keeping within earshot. "Just having coffee," Bill replied evenly, turning back to his cup. Jason snorted. "We got a Denny's off the highway for that. This here's a drinking establishment." He emphasized the point by signaling Tom for another beer. "Coffee's fine for me, but I appreciate the recommendation." Bill's voice remained level, neither challenging nor submissive. Jason leaned closer. "You know, Most people come in here. They show a little respect, introduce themselves proper. Bill met his gaze briefly. William Cooper. Most people call me Bill. No hand was extended. That's supposed to mean something to me? Jason laughed. Bill, you look lost. Retirement homes are on the east side of town. Darren and the others snickered from their table. Bill simply nodded and returned his coffee. Not much for conversation, are you? Jason pressed. What's wrong, old man? Were stories too classified? He mocked, making air quotes around classified. Just enjoying some quiet, if you don't mind, Bill replied, his tone remaining courteous but firm. Jason's eyes narrowed at the subtle boundary Bill had established. Jason circled back to his friends, whispering something that triggered muffled laughter. Meanwhile, Bill continued drinking his coffee, occasionally jotting something in a small notebook he'd pulled from his jacket pocket. 10 minutes passed in relative calm. Then Jason, seemingly by accident, bumped hard against Bill's stool while returning from a restroom. Coffee sloshed over the rim of Bill's cup, spilling onto bar and his notebook. Bill didn't flinch. His hand remained steady, even as a hot liquid spread toward his lap. Whoops, Jason said with exaggerated concern. Senior reflexes not what they used to be? Tom quickly offered a towel. Sorry about that, sir. No problem at all, Bill replied, methodically blotting his notebook. His movements were deliberate, almost mechanical in their efficiency. Nothing in his expression betrayed irritation. This apparent lack of reaction seemed to agitate Jason. He returned to his table, where Travis whispered something while pointing at Bill's cap. Jason grinned, nodding. Moments later, Travis casually approached the bar, ordered a shot, and in one swift motion swiped Bill's navy blue cap from the counter. Nice hat, Gramps. Military. Travis tossed it to Kyle, who caught it with a laugh. For the first time, Bill's expression changed, almost imperceptibly. Only the most trained observer would have noticed a slight tightening around his eyes. He turned slowly on his stool. I'd appreciate that back, he said, each word measured and precise. I'd appreciate that back, Kyle mimicked in a trembling voice before tossing the cap to Darren. Bill stood. Despite his age, he moved with surprising fluidity. No wasted motion, no unsteadiness. He was shorter than a younger man, his frame lean rather than bulky, but something in his stance caused Tom to step back from a bar. That belonged to a friend, Bill said. Please return it. Belonged. Jason intercepted the cap from Darren. Past tense, huh? Dead friend. He twirled the cap on his finger. What was he? Too slow getting out of the way. The bar had gone completely silent. Bill's expression remained composed, but something shifted in his posture, an almost imperceptible transition from casual alertness to focused readiness. Jason and his friends formed a loose semicircle around Bill, cutting off his path to the door. The other patrons edged away, creating an empty zone around the confrontation. Behind the bar, Tom glanced toward a door marked office, clearly considering whether to get the manager. You boys are making a mistake, Bill said, his voice still calm but carrying a new edge like steel wrapped in velvet. Jason sneered, dropping the cap to the floor. With deliberate slowness, he ground his boot heel into it. What you gonna do about it, Pops? Call the AARP? A flicker of genuine emotion crossed Bill's face. Not fear, but something harder, colder. For a split second, the practice controls slipped, revealing a glimpse of something that made Tom freeze with his hand halfway to the phone. Bill's posture shifted subtly, his weight centered, feet positioned at shoulder width. His hands remained relaxed at his sides, but no longer loose. Now they were poised. Anyone with combat training would have recognized the change instantly. Last chance, Bill said quietly. Step aside. Darren, emboldened by numbers and alcohol, shoved Bill's shoulder. Or what, Grandpa? Bill didn't stumble. The push seemed to dissipate against him, absorbed without effect. His eyes, previously polite, then watchful, had transformed. They now assessed each man with clinical precision, cataloging distances, angles, potential weapons. From a back room emerged a stocky man in his 50s, Mike Sullivan, the bar's owner. He paused at the edge of the standoff, reading the situation. "Everything all right out here?" Mike called, his hand disappearing beneath the bar. "Just showing this old timer the door," Jason replied without turning. He pulled a switchblade from his pocket, flicking it open with practiced ease. "Unless you want to leave in an ambulance." The blade gleamed in the low light. Jason held it casually, the gesture more threat than immediate attack. "Time to go, old man." Something shifted in Bill's eyes, a decision made. He exhaled slowly. "I warned you," he said, his voice now carrying the unmistakable tone of command, the kind that had once directed men through war zones and guided snipers to impossible shots. Jason lunged forward, slashing the knife in a wide arc aimed at Bill's chest. What happened next occurred so quickly that bystanders would later disagree on the sequence of events. Bill's left hand intercepted Jason's wrist, not blocking it, but redirecting its momentum. Simultaneously, his right hand clamped down on a precise pressure point in Jason's forearm. The knife clattered to the floor as Jason's fingers involuntarily released it before the blade touched ground. Bill had rotated Jason's arm behind his back, applying just enough pressure to immobilize without dislocating the shoulder. Jason found himself suddenly facing away from Bill, arm locked, completely controlled by a man 30 years his senior. "What the—" Darren charged forward. Bill sidestepped with remarkable efficiency, maintaining control of Jason while positioning him as a barrier. Darren collided with his friend, stumbling off balance. Bill used this momentum to guide both men away from him with a precise redirection of force, a technique taught only to elite military units. The brothers attacked simultaneously from different angles. Bill released Jason with a slight push that sent him sprawling into a table, then pivoted to face the new threats. Kyle reached Bill first. His haymaker punch met only air as Bill seemed to evaporate from its path. In the same fluid motion, Bill's fingers found a nerve cluster at Kyle's elbow. Kyle's arm went numb, dropping uselessly to his side. Travis managed to grab Bill's jacket, but immediately found himself thrown off balance by his own momentum. Bill stepped into Travis's space rather than away, disrupting his center of gravity. A precise strike to Travis's solar plexus, not delivered with brutality but surgical precision, left him gasping on his knees. In less than 15 seconds, all four men were incapacitated, none seriously injured but all thoroughly neutralized. Bill stood in the center, breathing normally, his stance relaxed but vigilant. He hadn't even broken a sweat. The bar remained frozen in shock. Bill calmly bent down, retrieved his cap, and carefully brushed it off. The entire confrontation had the quality of a demonstration rather than a fight, a master showing restraint while displaying absolute control of the situation. Mike Sullivan stepped forward from behind the bar, his face a mask of disbelief. He studied Bill carefully, eyes widening in recognition. "Holy shit," he whispered. Then, straightening his posture, Mike did something that shocked the remaining patrons. He snapped to attention and delivered a perfect military salute. "Chief Petty Officer Cooper." "I'll be damned." Bill returned the salute automatically, muscle memory from decades of service. "At ease. Have we met?" "No, sir." Petty Officer Second Class Michael Sullivan. "Served on the USS Roosevelt. Never under your command. But every Navy man knew about William Go Scope Cooper." A murmur spread through the bar as Jason and his friends struggled to their feet, expressions shifting from anger to confusion to dawning comprehension. Mike turned to the silent room. This gentleman was one of the most decorated SEAL snipers in naval history. 37 confirmed eliminations of high-value targets. His voice carried notes of awe and respect. They called him Ghost because targets never saw him coming. 3 silver stars. Trained half the current SEAL sniper program. Bill looked uncomfortable with the attention. "That was a long time ago. With all due respect, sir," Mike continued, "you were legendary in spec ops circles. That mission in Fallujah, when you held position for 3 days without water to extract that surrounded platoon. Exaggerated." Bill interjected quietly, though his eyes suggested otherwise. Jason had managed to stand, cradling his wrist. The previous arrogance had drained from his face, replaced by something between shame and fear. "Sir," he began awkwardly. We didn't know." "That's generally the point." Bill replied evenly. Not knowing who someone is before you decide how to treat them. The statement hung in the air, heavy with meaning beyond the immediate situation. The atmosphere in the bar transformed completely. Patrons who had edged away now looked on with new interest. Tom silently placed a fresh cup of coffee before Bill, refusing payment with a respectful nod. Jason stood with his 3 friends in a chastened huddle. After a whispered conversation, he approached Bill, who had returned to his seat at the bar. "Sir, I want to apologize for..." Jason struggled for words. "For assaulting a senior citizen?" Bill suggested mildly, a hint of dry humor surfacing for first time. Jason flushed. "Yes, sir. For that. For all of it. I had no right." Bill studied him for a moment. Apology accepted. "Now you know better." Mike stepped forward, his expression less forgiving. "Jason, I've let too much slide from you and your friends." "Not anymore. You're banned, all 4 of you, until you learn some respect." Jason opened his mouth to protest, then closed it, nodding slowly. As Jason's group shuffled toward the door, other patrons approached Bill cautiously. An older man asked to shake his hand. A middle-aged woman quietly thanked him for his service. Bill accepted their gestures with gracious discomfort, clearly unaccustomed to recognition. When someone offered to buy him a drink, he politely declined. "The coffee's fine, thank you." Mike leaned across the bar. "Sir, if you don't mind my asking, what brings you through Millfield? Not exactly on the main route." Bill glanced down at the navy cap, now resting again on the bar. "Anniversary," he said simply. "Visiting an old friend." Mike nodded, immediately understanding the significance. The evening mellowed into something unexpectedly pleasant. Bill shared a few carefully edited stories with Mike, but spent more time listening to the bar owner's own service tales. Other patrons drifted in and out of their conversation, treating Bill with a deference that seemed to both please and embarrass him. As the clock neared 11, Bill placed a generous tip under his coffee cup and rose to leave. "You're welcome here anytime, Chief," Mike said, extending his hand. Bill shook it firmly. "Just Bill is fine. And thank you. Might take you up on that next year, same time." Mike nodded, understanding. "I'll keep your spot at the bar open." Outside, the night air had cooled considerably. Bill zipped his jacket and settled his cap carefully on his head. From the shadows of the parking lot, a figure emerged, Jason, waiting alone by a pickup truck. For a moment, tension returned. Then Jason straightened slightly. "Sir, I just wanted to say..." He hesitated. "My dad served. Marines." He didn't talk about it much. Bill nodded. "Most don't." "Yeah." Jason looked at the ground. "Anyway, I was out of line. Won't happen again." "Good." Bill didn't elaborate further, but something in his steady gaze conveyed both forgiveness and expectation. Bill walked to his own vehicle, a modest sedan with out-of-state plates. Inside, he placed his cap gently on the passenger seat beside a framed photograph of young men in Navy uniforms, arms around each other's shoulders, desert landscape stretching behind them. He studied it briefly, touched a finger to one face, then started the engine. As he pulled away from the rusty anchor, Bill Cooper, retired sniper, decorated veteran, unassuming senior citizen, disappeared once more into anonymity, carrying his extraordinary past quietly within him. Perhaps the true measure of strength isn't in how we fight, but in knowing when not to. Bill's restraint until absolutely necessary spoke volumes about the discipline forged through military service, a quality often invisible until circumstances demand its revelation. How many veterans walk among us, their exceptional skills and experiences hidden beneath ordinary appearances? And how might our interactions change if we approached everyone with the respect their unknown stories might deserve? Have you ever misjudged someone based on their age or appearance? Or have you witnessed a quiet hero reveal themselves in an unexpected moment? Share your story in the comments below. If this tale of hidden strength and dignity resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more stories that remind us to look beyond the surface. Remember, true character, like true courage, often speaks softly.